My family history in the United States is a long and unique one. My family first stepped down on American soil and inhaled the cool, crisp breath of freedom and prosperity in the mid 1600s. They arrived here long before the creation of Ellis Island, long before Abraham Lincoln addressed our nation 407 years ago, long before John Hancock, Thomas Jefferson, and the other brave founders of this nation signed their names on the bottom of the Declaration of Independence. My ancestors were the fathers of this nation. When they came to America, there were no roads, no major developed cities, not much of anything when it came to legitimate civilization. They were the ones who tamed and broke this land so that thousands more immigrants for hundreds of years to come could enjoy and live comfortably in this place. My ancestors risked everything they had when there was no guarantee for a new and prosperous life. They left everything they had at their homes in England to come to America in search of a better life. All they had with them were the clothes on their back and the fire of determination in their heart. This is the story of how my ancestors achieved status and citizenship in America, how they risked everything they had for the smallest chance of success, how they paved the way for millions more immigrants to enjoy a free and prosperous life in America. This is their story, and now it is mine. We begin this story with my ancestor who immigrated to America from England in search of religious freedom and tolerance. Peter Bulkeley emigrated from England to the Boston area in 1635. As a preacher back in England, he was tired of the king and queen telling him which faith he was allowed to practice. Finally, he had enough. He packed up his wife and 5 sons and set out for America, the new frontier, a place where government and religion did not clash. For Bulkeley, gaining citizenship was simple. There were no immigration laws or restrictions, no tests he had to pass regarding the history and government of our country, no wall he had to jump. He became a citizen of the province of New England as soon as he set foot there. Gaining status in this country was an entirely different story. Bulkeley gained status as a pioneer, a hard-working risk-taker, and above all, a man who would defy all odds to practice the religion he loved. He and others helped establish Concord, Massachusetts as a legitimate settlement in this country. Later, he founded the settlement Musketaquid. He gained status as a man who would never give up. In England, he tried over and over again to practice the faith he believed in. And at a time and time again, the government of England told him he could not. Bulkeley was not the kind of man who would take that abuse lying down. He moved his family to America so that he could practice his faith there. He recognized how important religion was to him, and by moving to America, he helped ensure the religious freedom for everyone else hundreds of years to come. Bulkeley was a pioneer who helped form this nation to the place that it is today. Robert Chapman is another one of my relatives who immigrated to America in the 1600s. However, his reasons for immigrating were very different than Bulkeley's. Chapman was given a grant from the King of England to found a settlement in America in 1645. Because of this, he had status before he even came to America. He had the status of a man the king personally asked to go to America and settle the land in the name of England. Chapman arrived in America and immediately started searching for territory he saw fit to make a settlement. He traveled to the Connecticut River Valley, which at the time was mostly unsettled wilderness. It was there, in an untamed and uncivilized area, that Chapman decided to make his settlement. This area later became known as Old Saybrook, and he raised his family and grew old there. Like Bulkeley, he gained citizenship as soon as he stepped off the ship into the harbor. However, gaining status was different from Bulkeley. Chapman already had status coming into America. He had the status of a very important man who was close to the king. However, Chapman gained a different type of status once he arrived in America. It would have been easier to go to a place where there was civilization and make a settlement in that area. However, he chose to take the road less traveled by and settle in Connecticut, an untamed and uncivilized land of wilderness. Bulkeley gained status as a pioneer in America. It took guts and determination to make a settlement in a land like Connecticut. However, despite those odds, Chapman found a way to do it anyway. Jonathan Edwards is another one of my relatives who gained considerable status in America. Born in Connecticut in 1703, Edwards was quickly noted in school for his quick wit, fiery passion, and love for theology. Edwards attended Yale University, where he again stood out from the rest of the student body. Edwards studied theology in his time at Yale, and upon his graduation was ordained a preacher at the university. In the years he spent as a preacher at Yale, he became recognized as a revolutionary philosopher. After moving away from Yale, he spent the rest of his life publishing writings and delivering sermons on theology, philosophy, and science. He published several books, including The End for Which God Created the World, The Life of David Brainerd, and Religious Affections. Edwards gained status as a revolutionary in the theological and philosophical sense. His hard work at Yale and his constant tendency to question beliefs and rules led him to create extremely important and influential ideas. His sermons and ideas impacted Yale University greatly, and in tribute to his great teachings, they named a residential college of Yale after him. Jonathan Edwards University still stands today, reminding everyone of his great accomplishments. Most of his affluence came from being one of the founders of Equitable Life Insurance Association of New York. He used the unimaginable fortune he gained from this and made several important contributions to society. Being an active member of Aero Club of New York, Edwards financed the flight trials of the Wright brothers. Charles's success and money helped contribute to the creation of the airplane and flight. Without the financial support Edwards contributed, who knows if or when flight would have been made possible. Edwards also helped finance the excavation of King Tutankhamun's tomb. This financial aid provided by Edwards contributed to one of the most important archaeological discoveries of all time. The amount we learned about Egyptians and their way of life would never have been made possible had it not been for Edwards' will to give back to society. Edwards gained initial status in New York as an extremely successful businessman with the founding of Equitable Life Insurance. However, his status goes deeper than a man with just a lot of money. Edwards decided to use that money and give back to society. He helped finance the Wright brothers so that man may be able to fly. He helped finance the excavation of King Tut's tomb so that we may learn about the ancient Egyptians' culture. These are the places that Edwards had left his mark in society, and his willingness to give back to the people and give back to society. In 1996, my grandmother, Lucia Coltis Wall, was made a colonial dame of America. This means that she is a descendant of one of the settlers or founders of the 13 colonies. My grandmother spent many years tracing her roots back all the way to the colonial times. Using scientific evidence, she was able to prove her ancestors contributed to the colonizing of the 13 colonies. This gave my grandmother status as one of the oldest families to be in this country. It gives her status as an ancestor of one of the founders and creators of this great nation. Peter Bulkeley and Robert Chapman were the first in my family to come to this country. Bulkeley came here in search of religious freedom, while Chapman came here with a grant from the King to make a settlement. These men risked everything they had for the small chance of success in the New World. They gained status as pioneers and risk-takers in a land full of uncertainty and danger. This project has taught me about choices. All of my ancestors had choices to make at one point in their lives. For Bulkeley, it was whether to stay in England and be religiously suppressed, or to risk everything he had and to go to America where freedom lay. They all had decisions to make, and those decisions affected their children, their grandchildren, and eventually, those decisions affected me in my life today. Where would I be right now if Robert Chapman had not had the courage to immigrate to America and start a new settlement? Where would I be right now if my relatives had not chosen to go to college and receive a legitimate education? In the words of Maximus Decimus Meridius, what we do in life echoes in eternity. This assignment has made me realize that. It has made me consider how my actions will affect my children and my children's children. This is the story of my past, of how my ancestors came to this country seeking freedom and opportunity, of how they risked everything they had for the small chance of success. This is my past. The only thing left now is my future.